Hi, it's Neil here from Total Wellness Club, welcoming you to episode number 6 in our video series where we're looking at what helps you get healthy and fit and stay healthy and fit. And in last week's video, what I promised to do today was do some shout outs for people who are overcoming conditions. So that's what we want to get on and do today. My first shout out is from Pat. And Pat was diagnosed with osteoarthritis 4 years ago, and the doctor put her on a course of medication, and it didn't get rid of the pain, so she then went to a nutritionist. She says the pain is really difficult to describe, but says it feels like her hip joint kept giving way and she couldn't walk without holding on. Now, Pat was actually really quite active into her 70s. She was often going for walks or runs or bike rides, so this arthritis hit her quite hard. The nutritionist said to her that it was actually her diet and that she should cut out all dairy, which she did. And at the same time as doing that, she was recommended to take cider vinegar by someone who also suffered from osteoarthritis, and said that it had been a godsend for them to actually take. So she began drinking that 3 times a day before her meals, and she started eating a lot of green stuff like celery and spinach and things like that. And then for some reason, having started to feel better, she slipped back and stopped taking the cider vinegar, and her diet changed again back into what it was before. And that's when the pain all started to come back as well. But what's really clear for Pat is that when she sticks to her diet, the pain goes away and she can live quite normally. And I think it shows from what she's told us is that your conscious food choices can actually make a difference to your well-being. So thank you, Pat, and thanks for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that. The second shout out is for Elaine, and Elaine had breast cancer twice, in 2009 and 2011, and stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. She didn't really suffer a great deal of pain as such, but she did say it was really difficult making any kind of lasting plans, particularly with the treatment regime, which was largely natural. She's since studied nutrition to learn more about how to take care of herself, and she's learned Batieko breathing technique as well, and she's also been learning how to make and take cannabis oil as well, which has been really helpful to her. Today she's feeling much better, and she's just waiting another scan right now just to get the all clear. So everyone here at Total Wellness Club wishes you all the best with that, Elaine, with your second scan. Hopefully you get the all clear as well. Now, I have with me as well here today, I have my son Andy, who's here from Mexico right now, and he actually used to suffer from eczema. And I'm sure you all know what eczema is. It's that very itchy skin condition that can spread. What was eczema like for you?
It's really unpleasant, and I found it to be a vicious circle. I think that's the thing with eczema, is that at first it's just like a tingling on the skin, and then it becomes this raw, just sort of a thing, and then more and more and more it just becomes raw skin that you can't deal with, and very red, and
the more you itched it, did it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It starts off just a bit tingly, and then it gets really irritating, and then it gets unbearable, and you have to itch it, and then that makes the skin raw, and then that when it happens again the next day, it breaks quicker, and so on and so on.
And what did you try to get rid of it?
First, it was everything that the doctor prescribed. It was the hydrocortisone cream and all that sort of stuff. And then I tried a few other things, like I'd heard somebody else try Vaseline on the skin, so I thought I would try that out. Try baths with lavender oil and all that sort of stuff. I tried hemp oil at one point, and I imagine had I had a purer concentration of the hemp oil, it perhaps would have worked better. But none of that really helped. I think none of that.
So how did you get it to go away?
Well, for me, and I would imagine for the large majority of other people, it was an emotional, psychological thing which was causing it to be as bad as it was.
Right.
So it was a case of changing the circumstances, changing the emotional and physical environment that I was in, and then it went straight away. So when I moved over to Mexico, I think possibly the humidity.
Climate's different, yeah. So you wear different types of clothes as well.
Yeah. The change in the atmosphere was a big part of it, but also I feel that the change in the home environment as well. to be in a place where the rules are my own.
Yeah.
I think, and I know how everything works. Instead of worrying about what other people want from me and all that sort of thing, I can have that foundation, and that foundation wherein I'm confident.
Yeah.
I can then go out and it's less
Yeah.
less pervasive. I mean, occasionally there's the odd itch here and there, but it doesn't break out into a rash like it used to.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So how's life changed for you as a result of?
Massively, because I'm not irritated all the time. Because again, as I say, it's a vicious circle. So you'd get a breakout when you get irritated, but that would then make you more irritated because you were trying to have a conversation with someone, and there's this niggle here, and you've got to itch it, and then that then makes you more irritated, and then so on, and it just gets worse and worse. So I'm actually a lot more relaxed and a lot more centered now. Now that that's stopped.
Cool.
I feel a lot better. Life's better in general.
I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure that's going to help a lot of other people as well, especially people with those skin conditions, because eczema is something that affects quite a lot of people. And I like what you're saying there as well, is that the itchiness on the skin, the irritation on the skin actually is maybe an irritation with something else in life as well. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let me carry on with the third shout out, and this one is quite different again. It comes from Michelle Yeomans. She's an expert in helping people find the work that they were born to do. And what we'll do is we'll add a link to Michelle's work into the video just below here so that you can see a bit more about her. And she's told us that she had a client that was really pushing themselves too hard, and in part that was because she had some idea of who she thought she needed to be, rather than just accepting herself as who she really is. And this caused her quite a huge emotional distress, and it kind of resulted in her not really standing up for herself and sort of maybe not being well treated at work. Michelle's client's body actually then just gave up. She was completely exhausted, had aches and pains in all of her joints and muscles and lots of headaches, and a real difficulty in concentrating, which actually culminated in having to take off 3 months from work in the end. And after going on a workshop with Michelle, she identified the key things that would make her life happy and paired that with her natural ability, and this made a huge change for her. And as a result, she's now back at work, feeling much calmer and much more emotionally resilient. So I really like that, and thank you for sharing that one with us, Michelle. Another example from Shaf. Over a period of a year, her body really ran down and had no chance to power up again. Shaf was really overloaded with stress, but just really couldn't see that was the case, even though she lost weight and her appetite was decreasing and she got a lot of tension in her gut. Eventually, her body just literally snapped. In one instance, she seemed to be coping quite well, and then suddenly all of her systems stopped, and she was just doubled over with a lot of pain, a lot of tightness in her gut, acid reflux, brain fog, and which she said left her feeling like she had Alzheimer's. She blacked out once while she was driving and became unable to walk, and ended up becoming housebound as well. And whenever she ate, she couldn't keep that down long enough to actually create any kind of energy in her body, and that included things like soups as well. So to change this, she actually Googled the symptoms and found a clip on YouTube from a guy in the States for a condition which is called ulcerative colitis. The YouTube guy was using green smoothies in the diet, kale, spinach, green apples, cabbage, celery, ginger, lemons. It was just juice with no roughage in it at all. And within 3 weeks, she was able to eat, able to walk, and able to think again. She also took something called, I hope I say this right, lactobacillus acidophilus tablets. I'm sure I haven't said that one right. She also took devil's claw root and cod liver oil too, and took regular jacuzzis and some light exercises. She started getting better, but the condition still took a year for her to recover. But she's now feeling awesome. She's back in control. She's back at work, and life feels really good for her. So thanks for sharing that, Shaf, and congratulations on getting yourself well. One condition I'd just like to talk about, this is something I didn't really kind of like cotton onto until just a few days ago, when Andy asked me, Andy, my son who's over from Mexico, asked me to have a look at some chocolate bars. and decide which 3 would be the top 3. And I was looking at a Mars bar, and I said, well, you know, that Mars bar, I'd probably pick that one because of the way that the chocolate cracks when you put it in your mouth, and the caramel and that soft nugget kind of flavour. And probably I'd maybe pick the Ripple next because of that soft, silky chocolate that just melts in your mouth. And there's also the Cadbury's cream egg, because there's so many different ways you can eat it. And at that moment he laughed at me and he said, I could tell that you were once obese. And I was just thinking about it. Actually, I was a real chocolate addict. I was eating about 35 bars of chocolate each week on average. And obviously that's not good for your health. So in terms of overcoming conditions, I want to just throw in there that addictions sometimes can be conditions. And for me, it was a large thing to change that. A large part of changing that was actually mindset and getting that right. So I just wanted to add that in as well today. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share today. Several case studies, if you like, shout outs for people who are changing their life or have changed their life and remove some conditions from it. See you next week.